Hi, welcome to Scuttlebutt with Cleo and Pearl, and brought to you by Band-Aid Tree Media. And this is a pretty new show. We haven't been on here that long, and as long as you've caught us in the very beginning, I just want to remind everybody to please subscribe and like this show because we need subscribers. So I want to get right to what we're talking about today. One of the things that's been on my mind is gerrymandering and the districting thing that's going on in Virginia that hasn't seemed to. It was voted in by the people, but there's courts coming into play, and I don't know when they're going to get it figured out. But well, maybe Pearl can help us with this. Pearl, what is gerrymandering?
So, gerrymandering is when they screw around with the maps that are used to say this is your district for voting. So, they may take it like I remember in Brooklyn they did this. I was in kind of a neighborhood called Carroll Gardens, and I just assumed that I was in the right district for an elementary school that was just a couple blocks away. Well, no, there was a strip that went down my whole block down to the Gowanus Canal that was a different voting district than this school that was just 2 blocks away. It was bizarre. So you look at the map of the district and it would have kind of a square, and then all of a sudden it would have this really huge big keyhole cut out of it, and then it would go in another direction. So it's when they draw however they want to draw it so that they capture the voters that they want. So all Republicans or something like that, so that the whole district is just the way they want. And they also draw it so that they disable groups to be a group, like minority voters. They don't want the whole district to be one thing, maybe, because then they fear that they won't get voted in. So it's just when they screw around with those boundaries to make it more advantageous for them to get votes. And by
So
them, I mean whoever's doing the screwing around, the gerrymandering.
right, so in general, uh, every district is set up for every state, and you're not necessarily going to be voting on that.
Right. So you might think that, well, my whole county is this, and it's not. Or my whole neighborhood is this district, and it's not. In a town I live in a pretty small town, and there are two separate voting districts. Now, there's also two fire departments, number one and number two, and two names actually, but it's the same town, two zip codes, but it's the same town. And I don't think it's really gerrymandered per se, because I mean, my town is very, very Republican, but it's just odd, the way they have the lines drawn. It's just odd.
Well, so as I understand it, the what the Republicans are doing, it started I think back in down in Texas, and it started last year sometime where they wanted to change the districts so that they had more districts that were Republican than they were Democrat, and
Hmm.
that somehow they got away with doing that, and
Hmm.
then and what that meant was that there would be more Republican House members, more Republican senators in the Senate,
Yeah.
and so it has to do with the seats in the House and the Senate is the
Yes.
redistricting. So,
Yeah.
um, well, that just seems crazy because I thought I read somewhere that uh, let's say that the Democrats have 5 districts and the Republicans have 10 districts. And so when the voting comes out, even though um, the Democrats may have gotten more votes than the Republicans, the Republicans can still end up with more seats in the House or the Senate. Does that sound right?
Yeah. See, it depends. Like, if every district is set up to send its own representative to Congress, And also, by the way, these districts are utilized within each state to have their own representatives in the state government as well. And then they have a federal, a representative that goes to the House of Representatives in Washington. So if they have a district that's primarily Republican and there's a few Democrats, they may live in a weird place connected to that district, then their votes almost don't count, because for that district, the Republican vote will overwhelm the Democratic vote. And so for that district, they will get a Republican not only for the state house, but for the house in Washington.
Wow. So it's kind of like, I know it's different, but it just kind of reminds me of the electoral votes.
Yeah.
That even
Yeah.
though the popular vote, the actual voting goes for one candidate, if the other candidate gets more electoral votes, they get it. And it just doesn't. It just seems weird. Um, so the other question the other question I have, because I just don't quite understand what's going on in Virginia, that the whole state voted for to change some of the districts, just to
Mm-hmm.
change the lines,
That's right.
and now it's gone up. Two for different judges at least. One judge said yes, it can do this. The other judge said no, it can't. And so now they're kind of forcing it to go to the Supreme Court
Of that state. Not
for
right?
that.
Or
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, okay, probably for that state. Yes.
yeah.
So, um, I don't know. I mean, I liked it that they were doing what they were doing, because the Republicans seemed like they were trying to be so sneaky about it by doing stuff in other states like Texas and oh, what was some of the other ones that they were, it just seems to me like this gerrymandering makes for an unfair balance of power. And I think that's exactly what the Republicans are trying to do. And I just want people to know that what we're telling you sounds really like, oh, well, you just don't have a chance. We're in the corner. The Democrats are in the corner, and the Republicans are just going to take over because they've done all this. Um, that could happen, I suppose, but I've got a feeling that even though if you have more votes in general, I know that it will screw things up as far as how many people are in the seats, and that we definitely have to get control of the Congress and of the Senate. Um, I just think that the voting still makes a big difference, and that if people
Mm-hmm.
start thinking, "Hey, it doesn't matter what I vote, it's still going to go the way I don't want it to go, or it's going to go the
Mm-hmm.
way I do want it to go."
Yeah. And here's another piece of that pie. So each state has those congressional districts that they vote on. And so if you're in a particular district, you're voting with all the other people in your district for your representative, right? But then across the whole state, they all vote for, I guess, two senators. So you could have a real imbalance in both your house and your state house and your state senate, and an imbalance for the House in Washington and the Senate in Washington, because even if you have a lot of Democrats in your city, or your state rather, you could have, two Democratic senators, and then you could have a whole bunch of Republican representatives. And so where would that go? They'd never be able to make any decisions.
Well, doesn't it feel like there's something going on with the Supreme Court, that they would vote certain ways to help the districting for the Republicans, and isn't aren't the judges in the Supreme Court not supposed to do that?
I think the question could come before the actual Supreme Court, because there was a question about the voting stuff with Louisiana that came before
Right.
the Supreme Court.
That's what I'm I should have that's what I'm referring to, is the thing down in Louisiana
Yeah.
that they made a thing that made it so that the Republicans had an unfair advantage. And it just seemed to me like, why would the Supreme Court do that? other than that they're always going with the Republicans.
Uh, they did go with the Republicans in this case. They ruled that I just looked it up. It's not like I know all this stuff, but they ruled that the 2024 Louisiana congressional map included two majority black districts, and they ruled that as an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. Now, mind you, there are a lot of black people in Louisiana. There's a lot. And they overturned the lower court decision. And the case centered on whether a map drawn to comply with the Voting Rights Act violated the Constitution by relying too heavily on race.
Yeah, because they were also saying, whoever brought this up to the Supreme Court, what they were saying, that it was unfair to the white people. Oh, come on.
Well,
They
in
are
2022, there was a ruling that said that having only one majority black district violated it. So now they're saying the opposite. Having
well,
two violates it, it should go back to one. So,
because they're just trashing the civil rights.
yeah.
So, I don't want this to sound too dismal to people, because I know that there's a lot of people that are hoping that we can turn things around and get control, basically get a little bit more control over Trump. There is, he's just unfiltered. He's just going rogue. He's doing anything he wants to do, and he wants to make sure that he keeps the Republicans in the House and the Senate, because without them, he will be they will stop him from doing that, and
Yeah.
you already know that.
Yeah.
So, even if you're, well, there's a million reasons
Can
why
I
some
bring up something else too? I have
absolutely.
I have noticed in the news over the last few days that the major legacy media has been portraying this decision. This was by Judge Alito, has been portraying this decision as upholding racial equality. They've been very careful in their language and the way they've been putting it out, making it seem like, well, isn't that amazing? Alito is for the stuff, almost just stopping short of saying that Alito was for the Voting Rights Act when he clearly was not. He was clearly opposing it, but the way they are saying things, so they're really putting things, they're really gaslighting because they're really confusing the public. They're really making, so no wonder we don't know what's going on, right? Right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
every time you turn around, what they're saying on major legacy media is kind of the opposite of what's really going on. Like, where are you supposed to go to get this information? And
Well, it's just like what Trump says. I mean, everything Trump says is
yeah,
incorrect.
yeah,
Talking about the economy and stuff.
you're on. We won.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he just
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's just getting really confusing. But I think that they want it to be this way, and I think they want us to be discouraged, and they want us to give up. They want us not to vote because because we're going to think it's not going to make a difference. It does make a big difference. Still, keep voting, because there at least there's a record there of how many millions of people voted one way and how many millions voted another.
Well, and I think another hopeful thing is, and it can't bring you a lot of joy in this moment, but a very hopeful thing is that we can clearly see that the Trump administration is afraid of what is happening because they're fighting so hard to stop everything that is normal.
I
They
know, but I think they're going to get away with that. That's my concern.
in the moment, but you know what they say, you can win the battle, but you haven't won the war. So,
Yeah,
there's
and
a lot of battles that they seem to have won, but I don't, he's lost a lot too. He's lost a lot of battles too.
that's true. But okay, so kind of getting off of the districts and the elections and all that,
Yeah.
because we know what's going on there. And but you just mentioned something that reminded me that I just read that um, Trump said that he can't that the government can't afford to have Medicaid and Medicare because we're in a war.
Oh God.
Now, this is really going to affect a lot of people. And, that's another reason why we want the people, why we want Democrats to control things. And, but also you got to remember that people have been so brainwashed by Trump because he has continually said over and over for years now that the Democrats are to blame and the Democrats did this or that. Um, and it's not true, but I got to admit, you get worn down from hearing the same.
And the Democrats in Congress, especially right now, are weaklings. They are not standing up. And you gotta ask why. Why aren't
I
they
don't,
standing up more?
I do not agree. I know that there's a lot of people that feel that way, but the Democrats are kind of with their hands tied. What
No,
can
no,
they do?
no. You
No,
know, you know what's tying their hands?
they're the
The money.
minority.
The money that they're taking from the PACs. That's what's tying their hands. They could very well stand up against this. Look at, I mean,
What good would it do?
Governor Newsom isn't the best example because he also takes money from PACs, but he has stood up to the government on several issues. And he has, he's the one who said in California, let's rewrite our maps so that we have more people in the Democratic houses. But why isn't Congress saying no about the money and stuff to Israel? Why? Because of the PACs, because they're all in bed with the PACs that say no, let the bombs go to Israel, let the money go to Israel. So I think especially Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they're they're as much to blame now as the Republicans because they're not doing anything to push back on it. And I think that's why they're not pushing back because they're getting money from certain people and those people are telling them you will do this, you'll vote this way. Because come on, a strongly worded letter, come on. They're not being Democrats. They're not behaving like Democrats. They're behaving like Republicans.
Well, that's not good, but I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I mean, what can they do? I mean, I'm talking about when something comes to the House and they say, "Okay, we want this rule to pass." And the Democrats say no, it doesn't make any difference because there's more Republicans than Democrats. They're
Only
minority.
by 1 or 2. Only by 1 or
Well,
2.
and that's all it takes.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Just like the
what's
thing with
happening
ICE.
though, they're not even letting the stuff come to the floor that is backed by Democrats. They're not even letting those bills come to the floor.
Who's not?
Mike Johnson.
The
He's not
Republicans. The Republicans. That's
right.
what I'm telling
So
you.
no, but the things that they are voting on are Republican issues that they want to pass. And our Democratic leadership is voting with the Republicans to let them pass. They're going along with shit, and they shouldn't be, but they are.
Hmm.
There's nothing Democrats have put forward in most of 2026 except for the thing with the Epstein thing that was bipartisan. There's nothing that they've put forward because Mikey Johnson won't let it come forward.
Well,
They've
that's what
tried, but he won't do it.
that's where we're disagreeing. I'm saying that there's nothing they could do anyway. They don't have it. They're the
Yeah,
minority.
no, they could. They could.
And they did try. They did the thing where all of a sudden there was what was it, Homeland Security or the ICE people, or they didn't want to fund certain things, so they held out, caused a huge problem, and then everybody's looking around like the Democrats did it.
Because it closed the government. That was part of it, is that they were coming
Right?
to a government shutdown. But I think they were right to do that. I
Absolutely,
I think they were right to do
absolutely.
that.
And
So,
it got nowhere though.
well, did it? I mean, the presence of ICE in Minneapolis is not nearly as big as it was.
Okay.
I mean, it did do something. I think you have to really watch and read news with a very discerning eye. You cannot listen to the media. They're just not telling the truth, I don't think. You just can't. You can watch independent media and maybe get it, but we all tend to watch the media where we agree with people, right? So I
Yeah.
probably am not getting an unbiased version of the news either. But
Oh,
I
that's the reason I start. Well, that's the reason we started this show, is
yeah.
because yes, it's so easy just to like dismiss something that just doesn't fit with what we're thinking about,
Mhm.
and go to something that does fit with what we're thinking about.
Mhm.
So okay, so the thing about the war, and then
Mhm.
if Trump really does go through with this Medicaid Medicare thing, this will be just absolutely terrible. But you know, I heard that, that there's a reason why Trump doesn't want us to, or why he doesn't want to take, we're wondering why don't you take it to Congress? Why don't you just, even though you already know the Republicans are going to say, yeah, let's have a war, and the Democrats are going to say no, the Republicans are going to win. So why doesn't Trump just take it to him anyway? Just symbolically. Like what? Okay, fine. Can we have a war? Oh, okay. All the Republicans said yes, so let's go, because they're they're the majority.
But I
So
don't think the Republicans want to be painted with that brush. I don't think they want to be blamed for this war because they know they have an election in November and they don't
I
want to be at fault for that. Excuse me, I got to sneeze.
there we go. That we totally agree on. That they don't want to be connected to it because they are afraid if they come out and say yes, we want a war, it's going to affect whether they get to uh whether they will be put back in office, because other people are going to be like, what, you want to do what? um so yeah, they just keep it that way because they can get away with it. And there is certain, I don't know, I haven't looked into it enough, but there is certain little rules and stuff that make it, hedgehog or headset is so quick to say, oh, he doesn't need approval. He doesn't need congressional approval. But we know now, I mean, really, the reason what you just said was correct. The reason they don't want to get involved is because it could take away their seat. They could lose their ticket and then they wouldn't have a vote on anything. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Uh they're I don't know how soon they could make those things happen, but I mean they could make things happen, you know. I mean, for all we know, he could just say, stop cutting the checks right now. And would those bozos who are still at those administrations for Medicare and Social Security, would they just go, "Oh, okay, Mr. Trump, we'll just stop"? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Well, yeah, if they cut them off, what are they going to do? You waiting for your money to come in for your state, and it just doesn't happen. So what are you going to do? How are you going to keep it open? He's gonna leave it up to the states, but I know for a fact that our state can't afford that right now. First of all, we've all been based on a system where the federal government helps us because that's what the federal government is designed for.
Mhm,
But that's all changed now because we're not all millionaires and billionaires. Those
mhm.
people could care less. I mean, they've got enough money. They're not a big deal. And Trump's making more money for them every day.
God.
And I didn't mean to get on this subject, but there was another thing I was just reading about. And you had brought this up in a previous show where all these tariffs that need to be paid back, they are going to get paid back to these huge companies that have sued to get their money back. And I kept thinking, oh, it'll filter back down into the consumer. No, we're not getting a damn thing back.
No.
They're getting huge bonuses and stuff because the money's coming in,
Mhm.
and but
Do
we've
do you
all
remember do you remember 2008? Did anybody make any money off of that housing crisis? Not a penny. It all went back to the banks and the too big to fail corporations, the car companies. Jesus, I mean,
oh, so you're saying the people lost their houses, so
they lost their houses and then the banks got paid back.
yeah, nobody benefited from
And
that.
in COVID, all those PPP loans, who benefited from that? I didn't. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene did. She didn't pay hers back. A lot of people didn't pay them back. A lot of companies did not pay them back that should have, and nothing happened to them. Nothing. But
Well, and
us,
I, and I read about it today, and it just reminded me of what you had said, and I thought, okay, I don't, there is the only company that has come up that might be doing what I thought everybody would be doing is Costco is going to try to, once they get paid back, they're not they're not talking about how much money they're going to get as the chairman or the the head of Costco or something.
right,
They're talking about how they can maybe lower the prices a little bit to kind of offset what we've had, whatever you've been buying from Costco, you've been paying more for it because of the tariffs.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't change anything for us. And I hope people I guess I hope people understand that because I didn't understand it. I thought that it
And
would be
again, that's what they're putting out there. They're trying to make it seem like we are going to get money back. We're not. But they're trying to make it seem like that. By the way, I looked up the Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. They are funded by trusts which are secure through the end of this year, definitely. And the trust goes on further, but if they made some big change, it could be affected. But they think that it will be okay up until like 2029. But they could still make changes. But for 2026, they think that the money's in place. So
funded for what?
to pay out people for Medicare and Social Security.
Oh, that we could still hold on to it for another year or so.
Yeah.
So they throw this crap out there, and I found it like down at the bottom of the corner of a page, and just a little tiny article that you had to click on. It was not the main headline. So, they'll try to scoot past it. A lot of people will miss it. And a lot of people will just look at it like, what does that mean? And move on. Um, but yeah, so it'll be something a year or so down the road. And then suddenly there's no Medicare or Medicaid. And everybody will be looking around like, what? What happened?
Do you
Because they
think do
sneak,
you
they,
think though, Mr. Dumpy and his big ass diaper, do you think he's really going to be here by the end of the year?
I
I mean,
do.
do you?
I know you don't. I know you
I'm
don't.
just now that's where I'm Pollyanna. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna be gone. He's gonna be gone.
No, I think it will be around because he he gets away with so much stuff that and there's so much misinformation and so many lies about the Democrats and and he just loves it, and for him to say, well, we're just going to have to stop a lot of different programs because now we're in a war that he started, a war that is there's no reason for us to be in a
Illegal,
war.
illegal according to our laws because he never got approval from Congress.
And he apparently, since since it's a threat to our security, he doesn't need it.
Well,
Well, that's his
who is determining if it's a threat to our security? He is, and that's not legal either.
and then I'll see, because he spews out so much misinformation, especially about previous Democrats in the White House, like Biden, Obama, Clinton. Uh, he just said a thing on Fox News where he was talking to a retirement community and he told them that he wasn't a senior citizen even though he's 79 years old. And then he talks again about the 3 cognitive tests he took.
Oh
And
my
please,
god.
let's be reasonable here. If he actually took 3 tests, that's very, very unusual.
Yeah.
You go into a doctor and somebody is concerned about what's going on with me mentally, and they give you a test. and you decide from there. Unless you want to keep going to different doctors and stuff, and maybe that's what he did. But he said he took 3 of them, and he aced all of them. And he said, I'm not the only president to take a cognitive test. And then he mockingly added, I don't think Obama could pass it. At least I doubt it.
You know,
Didn't he get into Harvard with a C average? I don't know. I don't think he could pass it. Please.
his statement that I took a cognitive test. I took 3 cognitive tests and I aced it. That little statement right there should be enough to get the 25th Amendment going. You know
You
what I
would
mean?
think. You would think. I don't know. I don't know
So
why
how
they're
okay, well,
Well, again, they got to have like a huge majority that agrees that something should happen. The other Republicans, they just love it that he keeps saying goofy stuff, gets away with it, and nobody's going to challenge him because he is the man, he is the guy, he is the king.
well, nobody's
So
gonna challenge him because he's got dirt on all the people who matter, who he can make their lives very difficult, and so they're gonna go ahead and kiss his ass because that's what he wants. But the businessmen in that MAGA community, they're having to lay people off. They're losing money. I mean, this money they're going to get back on the tariffs, I don't think it's in any way going to make up the shortfall that they have suffered from having to pay things with the tariffs. I don't think that, I mean, I know that a lot of small businesses have gone under, and this country runs on small businesses. So you may think that it's the Walmarts and Google and Amazon, but it's not. It's the little mom and pop shops that keep this economy going. And the economy is sucking right now. And that is what eventually that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, because people cannot eat if they can't work. And that's just not going to go. That's not going to fly. Farmers who have owned their farms for generations are losing their farms. I mean, the hospitality industry was the first industry, I think, that really got hit bad because of the way he started talking about Canada and all of that stuff right off the bat. Who Those people in the hospitality industry, I'm sure all lost their jobs and had to go find new jobs. Now maybe some of them did, but the way he's impacted TSA and the airline industry, who I mean,
I don't know what's going on like on the East Coast for Canada, but I know on the West Coast, the Canadians that used to come over the border all the time and shop at our little towns and stuff near the border, gone, gone.
same,
So,
same.
okay, so those little towns aren't making it.
Not just on the East and West. Think about the Midwest. Those towns are so close to the border on either side, North and the American side. They're like cousins. I mean, like, did you see they had a film, not a film, Midas Touch Canada showed a video of a hockey game that was 2 American teams playing, but during the game, they were kicking it off with the Canadian national anthem. Now, I don't know if I think the game was taking place in Canada, but it was 2 American teams playing some kind of playoff or something. So they were going to sing the Canadian anthem, and it was mostly Americans in attendance because it was 2 American teams. And the girl got up to sing, and after like one phrase, her mic started to cut out. And as soon as it did, people were already standing, but they just started singing at the top of their lungs this Canadian national anthem. And they continued to sing the whole song. And her mic, every once in a while, you'd hear her little come through the mic, and it was just a tearjerker. It was
Well, and
beautiful.
Canada just recently had said, "Hey, you can do a dual citizenship
Oh,
as long
really?
as if you oh yeah, if you've got relatives that are Canadian, if you are
Oh,
some
yeah,
way connected to Canada,
yeah,
you can easily do a dual citizenship." I got a feeling a lot of people are going to do that.
yeah.
Um,
I
I'd
think
wanted to
so.
say real quick when I mentioned Barack Obama and that Trump said that he couldn't pass the cognitive test. Uh, but I do want to remind everybody that Obama graduated magna cum laude from Harvard Law School, and was president of the Harvard Law Review.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And they said in this one article that the real sore point for Donald Trump is that Barack Obama went to Harvard while he was told not to bother submitting a formal application.
Ooh, not
Whoa.
good.
Whoa.
Not good. Yeah. Well, the world is really starting to put out there on social media just how much they have his number. There's
Yeah.
a lot coming from the Canadians, but also the Europeans. King Charles, look at the speech that he gave.
Oh, let's talk a minute about that.
Oh
The visit
my
from the
god.
king and queen,
Yes. Yes, yes,
and
yes.
and how he just screwed that up totally and insulted the king. But yet again, the king comes out and gives a speech to Congress that says everything that we are wishing that would happen. His thing about helping out Ukraine, about uniting, about working together, about give peace a chance, kind of a thing. And they all applauded it.
Over and over
They're
again, they kept
they are
applauding.
such hypocrites, acting like to the king's face they don't have the balls to say no. They don't agree with that because it
But
would just
but
be
they
a
do, but
ridiculous.
they do agree with it. What they don't have the balls to do is stand up to Trump. They do agree with it. They're
Well,
all
it
just
doesn't. It doesn't matter when
play
they're
acting.
coming out publicly and lying like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would think that a normal thinking
yeah,
person would definitely agree with that.
yeah,
Uh, but yes, it was it was pretty surprising
yeah,
how that worked out. And then giving the king food that they'd already knew that he didn't care for.
yeah.
And then when the queen was trying to shake hands with different people on the administration, like Marco Rubio and the speaker and all that, and Trump just zips right in and just butts in it. So rude, so rude. I would just, oh, like, oh my God, he didn't just do that, did he?
He is
He
such a
did.
child.
And
He's
she would
such
just
a
kind of
child.
like, you could tell she was taken back, like, wait a minute, what? And those are people that Trump sees every day. She's trying to shake their hand and be diplomatic,
Yes.
he just pushes her aside. He thinks he can get away with these things, but it's just a horrible. What he's doing is just putting a mark against the United States of America. I mean, we are falling so far behind now. We used to be one of the most respected countries in the world. No longer are we. People
No.
are, other countries are just like, you know what? I'd rather trade with anybody than trade with the United States. I'd rather, I'm not traveling to the United States anytime soon. They just cannot believe what is happening, just like we can't.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible. And I think, it's gonna take an awful lot to get back even a tenth of what we've lost. It's just gonna take a tremendous, tremendous effort. Whoever has to take over this shit show. They're
It's gonna take a lot of time, and it won't be the next president can. It's not one of those things like in the past when things have gone bad with the economy or like with the pandemic or something that
Mhm,
somebody came in and fixed it. Biden fixed
mhm,
it. Clinton,
mhm.
uh, you know, will not be a quick fix,
No.
and it just gets worse the longer it goes on. So. Uh, we just have to be so patient and you just band together. I mean, the people that are doing the protests and stuff, they're making a big difference. At least you can look at them and go, "Oh, good. There's like a million people that agree with me." That think the way I do,
Yeah.
and they're actually going out and trying to do something about it. I mean, this thing with immigration and that just everything that the president says is so uh he's just so off the mark. Again, he wants to talk about the that he did not lose the 2020 election, that it was rigged, and I'm like, oh my God, you're such a whiner. Why are you still talking about something that's been proven over and over again that's not true? And so what he did is he put a post up that said, He says that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama committed treason. I'm, to me, I'm pretty sure Trump is the one that's committed treason. But
Over
even,
and over and over. Hmm.
yeah, and to even say something like this about Obama
It's
and
it's
Clinton,
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I mean, he says this shit all the time. He just, like this is just not new. Hillary Clinton is just like, oh, it must be. It's Tuesday. I must be being accused of treason. I mean, you know,
and then Trump also has the nerve to say, when he is the one of guilty at this, he says that Trump and, or excuse me, that Obama and Clinton tried to overthrow the United States government back in 2016. What? Nobody thought that. I never heard of that before until he said it.
he just makes stuff up. You must
He
know
makes
this by
stuff up,
now.
and this is why he's such a dangerous, dangerous president. Uh,
Yeah. Well, we knew this going in, but and I feel like when James Comey was released from his so-called incarceration, I bet Obama and Hillary called him and said, "Welcome to the club. Now you're one of us. He's gonna accuse you every 5 minutes."
well, he's also saying that the assassination attempts, the early ones,
Hmm.
were an inside job by the Biden administration.
Oh, jeez, it's so ridiculous. Well, if we get going down on that one, we're going to be here way too long. I
Right, yeah,
think we
all
should
night.
save that for another episode. But
I think we will.
oh my God, it's like I said, it's Tuesday, and this man is tweeting some ridiculous thing. That's just normal for him, and I think the sooner we just accept that and just start focusing on what are we going to do when he's done and how are we going to get him done and out of there, the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, we are gonna have to end this one. We didn't really get to a lot of the things we wanted to talk about,
That's
but
okay. We'll talk next time.
we'll bring this up another time. I hope that what we're throwing out there is interesting to somebody, and whether you agree or disagree, please let us know in the comments section below this video. Please let us know what you're thinking. If you don't agree, let us know. If you do agree, let us know. We want to see where the public is at with this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It's
just be
just,
respectful.
yeah, definitely be respectful. Don't attack somebody else. Like if somebody else has a different opinion than you, allow them to have that opinion. And that's kind of the way we're trying to run this show. I
Yeah.
mean, you might say something that I totally disagree with. That doesn't mean anything. It means that we're acting as moderators in this instance of how people respond. And like, we've said, we're new. We don't have that many subscribers yet. So please like and subscribe so we can get some conversations going with people outside ourselves and see if we can't try to figure out the mess that we're in and how we're going to deal with it, whether it just stays the same or not. uh, how are you going to physically and emotionally and financially deal with this?
Yeah.
So, um, well, thank you so much for making it to this point, and we will be back in about a week, if not before. And really appreciate everybody that bothered to listen to it to the end. Did you
Yeah.
have anything to say, Pearl?
I just want to say, don't let the turkeys get you down. Stay hopeful. It's always darkest before the dawn, all those things,
Absolutely.
because it seems like a shit show. It is a shit show, but we're going to make it through this, especially if we stick together.
Yeah, we might have to fight a little bit harder than we thought, but
Yeah,
it
we might.
it will get better.
Yeah.
Don't think that this country is going to be taken over by an authoritarian government for it. Well, it's kind of happening now, but I mean, not it's not going to be permanent. It'll be just temporary.
Yeah,
So anyway,
absolutely.
thanks for watching us. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.